Welcome to Share Views. We have a very special guest, a man who could be described as Mr. Oil and Gas and maybe many other things as well, Malcolm Graham Wood from Malky's blog. How are you today, Malcolm?
I'm very well, thank you, Zach.
Right. We're going to start off with just the overall picture, the overview, oil, OPEC, things like that.
Yep.
We had Russia in the mix over the summer, which I think almost scared the market in a way. They thought, well, these people mean business, or had more credit. They had more credibility than the traditional OPEC players. But it seems to be unraveling a bit.
Well, I think it's a Russia-Saudi thing at the moment. I mean, I think that there's no doubt that OPEC, I mean, it could get it all together, but it's unlikely to, given the mix of countries in there, because Iran, aren't going to cut their production when the production cease comes into effect. Neither will Iraq, by the sounds of it. They jumped onto the bandwagon yesterday, saying that they thought that they deserved a special case. So the bottom line is that if you take out most of the rest of OPEC who can't or won't cut back production, it is Saudi Arabia, and so they need another big player. And at the moment, Russia are playing a very interesting game. I think that it's a combination of factors. One of the things is that the Russians have been saying for some time that they were going to produce flat out, and they're going to produce up to 12 million barrels a day. I've got a feeling that the reason that they're saying that they're going to come in and not increase their production is because they can't. And so it's a sort of way of
positive spin.
A positive spin, saving face, call it what you like. The price went over 50. Your chart guides kept on telling me that it needed to get over 52.5 or something. It wasn't really likely to do that in the short term. We've got a short 5-week run up to the OPEC meeting on November the 30th. In between now and then, all sides will make their points. So we're bound to have good days and bad days. At the moment, it's come back in the last 2 or 3 days because of the Iraq comments and so on. But in general terms, I think that the OPEC machine generally works if it's trying to get a message across. So we'll probably be, if I had to go up or down between now and the meeting, I would say probably up. But as with all these things, is that when the day actually occurs, will Russia deliver? Will Iraq just back off and not make too much of a noise? The interesting thing is your supply and demand figures for next year, because at the moment it still looks like there's too much crude around, but that can change quite quickly. And I know we're going to talk about shale and so on, but at around $50, it looks like a reasonable equilibrium. Interestingly enough, I've had $60 in for the end of year price, not just the end of year price, since late spring, and I've had a chance to downgrade that. At one stage it looked better and worse. I don't think that's going to be far away from it.
It's keeping it around there.
There and thereabouts.
Let's just have a look at the charts just to get
a
feel for this. So the 1 year, we had the big rebound at the beginning of the year, and at least I think stability is what people really want in this market, and that's what they've got, isn't it?
It looks like we're not going to go back. I don't think we're going to go back down below the sort of 46 level, and it struggles at 52, 53 there, and so I think that's what it's going to be, unless there was a really fantastic agreement on November the 30th. But 5 weeks is a long time in OPEC politics, so I would think that in that range for the time being.
Okay, let's go on to the next chart, which is I think the nearer term outlook. So just
well, that's exactly what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, I think that 46 low is quite well kept, and there we are, the 50, exactly what we were saying, the 52.5. It just will not break through that. I mean, a break through either of those, you know these better than me, but a break through either of those two levels would be very significant indeed.
Okay, let's move along to some of the stocks. Hurricane Energy, loved by the punters, and not surprising given that chart. It's been basically going up in a
well, they're right to love it, because Kerrigan, when they were 9p back in May, in sort of February, Kerrigan came in and gave them $50 million to play with, along with Crystal Amber, who have been long-term supporters of this business. That meant that they could get rid of the farm out and get straight onto drilling these 2 wells. And of course, these 2 wells have both been fantastically successful. 15,000 barrels a day from a fractured basement is absolutely fantastic. And with 2 wells doing that, if they had 2.5 wells doing that, that'd be the second biggest field in the North Sea already, after Buzzard. and bigger than Forties, which produces 40,000 barrels a day. The bottom line is here that they have now just finished, as I say, both those wells, and they've raised another £70 million, which they did last week, and £4.5 million probably from the open offer, which will be taken up at 34p. So they've got £75 million in their Skyrocket. They can go ahead with the EPS, the early production system, on Lancaster. They can drill 2 wells. They'll be spudding Lincoln on 5th of November, and that'll be a very exciting process. So I think the upside is significant still from here for Hurricane.
Okay.
It's going to be one of the biggest producers in the UK in the next
And
few
I
years.
suppose, as much as anything else, a good example of how to do things right in the market, how
Correct.
to deliver on expectations, the timetable, the timeline, everything else they've done. That there's no
Yeah,
hanging
and
around.
they've got a very smart CEO who only comes out when it's needed, and he's a real specialist geologist and one of the best in the business. Good team around him, good CFO, good team, and just goes ahead and delivers the goods. And then when you do that, the finance comes along as well. This raise of 70 million last week was several times oversubscribed at 33, twice subscribed at 34, I'm told, with some big institutions playing the game.
Wonderful. Okay. Others can look and learn on that one. Sound Energy, another textbook example.
Well, this is a textbook example of a company which put all its strategy together. Start off doing in Italy, realizing that it takes a long time to get things done in Italy. Moved into the Mediterranean area, settled on Morocco, and looked at this Taji reservoir, which is the reservoir which is so big in Algeria. And going up, we're talking about the northeast of Morocco here. So they took some acreage here and have found what looks like an absolute monster of a gas field. The bottom line here is, the shares moved, as you can see, so quickly, but that's what happens when you find something this big. And the reason that I suspect it's just eased off a little bit in recent weeks is that people really can't quite believe how big it is. But the bottom line here is that, and there was a visit to Morocco 2 weeks ago, which I went on with some investors, and there's another well to drill, which they'll be doing at the beginning of January, which is the outpost well. That will really tell how far this field goes, and if that comes in, it could be huge. And the company are guiding that this is what 85p at the moment. They guide that it'll be about £1 per share for every TCF, trillion cubic feet of gas. Now, funny enough, I've got between 3 and 4 TCF in the discovery so far. So, assuming that nothing else happens, the shares should be worth at some stage in the future, discounted back off at least £3 a share. So, 85 is probably fair enough. We need to see that the flow rate continues to be good, and we need in the beginning of next year to see the TE8 Tendrara 8 well coming in. So nothing is taken for granted, but the potential upside for this, for not just for Sound but for Morocco in general, is very significant indeed.
Okay, let's go on to the next contender, Amerisur. It's been a bit of a waiting game. Even I've got a bit frustrated with it.
Yeah, well, it's difficult because the frustration there is for this OBA pipeline link, and it will happen. Obviously, Colombia is the game here for Amerisur. Again, I went to see this company in Colombia about 3 weeks ago. Spent a week there with the local management and going to see a number of all their sites effectively. There's so much been going on in Colombia with the FARC and the surprisingly just slightly lost referendum.
Yeah.
They'll have another. Don't worry, they can always have another referendum which they will win. But the point is that Amerisur have very carefully assembled their acreage down in the south of Colombia, where they are going to be within distance of this OBA pipeline, and the pipeline, which will start off by taking 5,000 barrels a day, will in due course go up to, probably could go up to 50,000 barrels a day. The reason we've all been waiting for this is that it takes $11 a barrel off the cost of moving the oil. Transport costs by truck for their Colombian oil at about $26 a barrel. And so, I mean, it would be down to about $15. So, I mean, it would be fantastic for them. It just keeps being delayed, for all sorts of reasons. But I can tell you, I've seen the very pipeline. I've kicked it. I've touched it. I've seen all the meterage. Everything is in place. The electrics are all in place, and I know all the documents have been signed. So, not quite sure why now. We've had all sorts of reasons up till now because of weather and so on. But when this goes, the 30 level is so crucial. 30p for Amerisur. My spies tell me that there's a buyer in the market for this stock. Now, there has been a big seller in the market of this stock over a reasonable period of time. One of my spies in the marketplace rang me yesterday and said he was a big buyer over for Amerisur at the moment. So, I like it on fundamentals, and I think it'll, as soon as we just tick past that, the OBA.
All right.
Waiting for forever.
Yeah. All right. Let's go on to the next stock. Running out of time a bit, but Rockhopper.
Okay. Well, Rockhopper is straightforward enough. I mean, it's a slow burner because the big asset is the sea lion discovery in the Falkland Islands. I think there's one big thing to say about this is that as I say, it's not going to happen straight away, but it will happen because we've all got excited about the big discovery offshore Senegal, which was Cairn and Far and that sort of stuff. But the discovery that Rockhopper have got in sea lion is of a similar size. It's a big discovery, and it's already underway, so it's ahead of the game in terms of Senegal. Yet, I think that sea lion is valued at only a quarter of what the Senegal similar discovery is. So I think that Rockhopper have got a huge asset in there. It's just taking a while to polish this particular penny. And in the meantime, they've been moving in the greater Mediterranean area as well. And actually, with the assets that they bought very cheaply, it pays for all their G&A. So the company runs itself. It doesn't cost anything to run it on. It's running on proceeds of Egypt primarily. Long term, you'll make a very, very large amount of money when Sea Lion comes on.
Okay, it's good news, we hope.
I hope so.
And finishing off with Faroe.
Yeah, I was in Norway with Faroe last week with a whole bunch of analysts, and this is one of my favourites anyway. It's right at the top of the bucket list. This is a really good company that has developed through exploring its own, finding the acreage, developing, exploring it, and being successful. I think this is beginning to work through to the marketplace now because they were very sensible. They raised money just before the oil price fell, and so they're able to hunker down a little bit. This is primarily Norwegian North Sea at the moment, although I expect them to pick up some assets in the UK sector at some stage. But they've got 2 or 3 big assets to develop. They've got a thing called Pil and Bue. They've got a very exciting portfolio of acreage. This is a company which is doing 8,000 barrels a day. They bought assets from a European company called Dong, which will double that to nearly 20,000. The plan is to go to 50,000 barrels a day. This is a company on the move, doing extremely well, very well managed.
So the shares are starting to break out.
Yeah, and I'd expect them to break out. I've got a new target of 125p.
All right.
So that's
plenty to look forward to.
Plenty to look forward to, yeah.
All right. Well, so we've got a good selection there. Thank you to Malcolm Graham-Wood from Malky's blog, and with your views on the oil market and key oil stocks. And that's it for Share Views this week. Hopefully we'll see you again next time.